Hi guys, this is Dave with 2021 Training. I just wanted to answer some questions a lot of people have about the application with Texas to submit your insurance adjuster license. They only accept online license applications now, and so here's the process you're going to have to go through. First thing we need to do is go to Circon, SIRCON.com/Texas. And here's the screen you're going to come to, and this is where everything starts for you. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through the process if you were a resident of Texas. If you're not a resident of Texas and applying for a designated home state, make sure you watch all the way through the end, because I'm going to go through the process first, and then at the end I'm going to describe for you guys who are applying for a designated home state how the process differs and what to select. One thing I do want to explain to you is this application is very broad, very general for all types of licenses, and that's why it's a little bit tricky to navigate through. But once you can see it, it'll make perfect sense. So let's go ahead and get started. So over here on the left, you're going to see apply for a license. They may move it around on us, but that's, as long as you're on the Texas page, you're going to look for this apply for a license. So let's go ahead and select that. And here we go. So we are looking for new adjuster license is what the category we're looking for is. So we want to start a new adjuster license. First question, are you an individual or a firm? You will select individual. You're wanting to be licensed individually. Are you licensed as an adjuster Are you licensed as an adjuster in your resident state? Remember, I told you they're using this form for all different categories of people. So the first time through here we're going to go through is if you live in Texas. So Texas would be your resident state, so you would answer no. You are not licensed in your resident state, which is Texas. Are you applying for a resident license? We're going to select yes here because that's what we're trying to get. We'll go ahead and hit continue. It's going to ask us for an email. I'll go ahead and use mine, Dave at 2021 Training. And we're going to go ahead and continue. Make sure you put an email address where they can communicate with you there. That's important. Next thing, we're going to get some information, individual resident license application. So we're going to put in my last name. And this is going to be the last name as it's designated on legal documents such as your license. We'll just enter some numbers in here. You're going to put your actual social in there. And who is the preparer? We are preparing this ourselves. You're doing this for you. So you are the applicant. And then we come down here, it's asking which state you're applying to. So we're going to find Texas. Now remember, I told you Circon does stuff for a lot of different states. So we need to select our state and tell us which application we're going to be filling out. There is a payment that we're going to be required to make. What you want to do is select credit card for the processing there. And we will hit continue. Next thing is, what type of license are we looking for? So we're looking for an adjuster license. Are we previously licensed? No. So we're going to go ahead and continue. You can look at some of the other things here. So this shows you public adjusters, temporary general lines, surplus lines, agents. I mean, they all have the same process they're going through. It's all a matter of how we answer the question. So we are looking for an adjuster license. We'll hit continue. Here's the important one to notate. the vast majority of you have taken the All Lines licensing, and you have to look at the certificate you're going to be submitting to the state and make sure which one you have taken the education for. There's an All Lines license, there's a property and casualty, also known as a P&C license, or there's a workers' comp license that you can get where it's just workers' comp. The All Lines is inclusive of both the property and casualty and workers' comp. So if you get a property and casualty, the only thing you can't do is workers' comp. And so the All Lines is the accumulation of that. But important note here is do what's on your certificate. If your certificate says P&C, that's the application you need to fill out. Otherwise, they will reject it. So we're going to continue. So hopefully your certificate is an All Lines course that you completed, and we are going to continue. So here it goes. It starts, feeding us it's important to pay attention what's required and what's not required. First name has our last name filled in from what we did before. We need a birthday. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. It requires our gender. It's requiring a citizen code. We want the U.S. because we live in Texas. And we're going to put in a business address or business email address. So it's going to be the same for you. I can't imagine an instance where you'd want to use something different. So put the same email address you used before. And so we've hit all the required fields here. First name, last name, birth date, gender, country code, and our email addresses. You do not have a national producer number if you do not have a license. So that is left blank. You will receive one once you get your license. Now we come down here and look what the first line says. This information for this section is optional. There's no need for you to fill any of it out. If you do fill any of it out, it has required fields. You can't just fill out one without the other. We're going to leave this totally blank. We don't have any aliases that we have to worry about. Individual residence address. So this is going to be your home address. The resident address must be the physical address of where the applicant resides. No P.O. boxes are able to be used here. I highly, highly recommend you use what's on your driver's license. Make everything match for them. So we're going to we'll just make up an address here. And we need a country code or a country again. And there we go. And once again, individual business address. Since you're applying for this as an individual, guess what? It's going to be the same address. Make sure this information matches for clarity. Individual mailing address. So this is where things are going to get mailed. If you have a different place that you receive mail, you can enter it here, but I would highly recommend that you just continue using the same address as you have in the other two. And that should suffice for that. It does need a phone number. I don't know whose phone number that is, so don't call it. But you want your residence business phone number. Chances are you're going to use the same thing. I recommend you use your cell phone number for these things. This is a state license you're holding. You do want them to be able to get in touch with you. So make sure it's a number that they can reach you or information can get back to you on. Fax is optional. We don't have a fax. We don't need to worry about that. Then you come into employment history. So they want the employment for the past 5 years. And the last one, or you can select this current employment. All that does is it removes the end date from what you're putting in here. And look at the format. You need month, year in 4-digit format. So we're going to say we began this, what are we sitting in, November of 2019. We're going to say we just started this last month, 2019. And what are the required fields? So you're going to put the name, and you're going to put the state, and we're going to put the country. And we're going to say I was an adjuster apprentice. And we'll say before that we worked, I'll just make this easy since we need to back up 5 years. We'll go January. We have to use 2 digits, 2008. That'll encompass our 5-year period. And we did that to 09 of 2019. We'll say I was a welder. You go back, catch that country code. So we have now completed. And if you read the notes, read what it says. If you have unemployment time period, you would put the begin date and the end date. For the employer name, you would just put unemployed. The city that you lived in and the position description, you'd put unemployed. That's how you handle that. Make sure you encompass your 5 years. They have a little button at the bottom if you have more spaces you need to add, and you should be able to fill that out correctly using that. Affiliation information. You do not need to fill this out. This information in this section is optional. So we're just going to hit continue. Make sure you read those because you see required fields in here and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I got to fill something out. But when you read that, it says this information is optional. If you elect to provide this information, please enter all required fields. That's when it becomes required. So we're going to go ahead and just hit continue and go on. It did not like something. Oh, look. So it does require it's requiring the state. Let's go ahead and give it that. You're always going to see those errors at the top if it in red. It'll keep you on the page and not let you continue if you do have something wrong. So here it comes into the licensing questions. You are required, in order to apply for an adjuster, you must answer each of the following questions. What types of documents are you attaching? So you're going to have a certificate of completion for an adjuster pre-licensing course, which is what we sell here at 2021 Training. At the end of the course, that PDF you got, that's what you're going to be giving them and using as your education requirement. Oops, sorry about that. Question number 2, are you claiming exemption from the requirement to submit fingerprints based on being an individual application with active Texas license? We're assuming you're a new person, you don't have any licenses with the state, so you are going to be not claiming an exemption. So your answer is no. So question 3 disappears because we answered no. Morpho Trust USA receipt, TCN number. When you go get your fingerprints as we instructed you, they're going to give you a receipt, and there's going to be a number on that receipt. So you will enter that information in here. City location is where you got those fingerprints done. I went to Frisco. And the date listed on the receipt, I got those done October 17th. Next question, number 8. Are you indebted to any policyholder, insurance, or insurance company? So they're going to be asking me questions about my relationship with the insurance industry. These aren't hard, just read through them. I am not indebted and or have any claims or judgments filed against you regarding premiums or commissions, so no. Do you currently hold any adjuster, public adjuster, or insurance agent license in a state other than Texas that you have held an adjuster, public adjuster, or insurance agent license in any state other than Texas within the past 4 years? I do not. I'm a brand new applicant. You have to read Texas state. Have you read the Texas state specific requirements? They give you a link. You can look at them, and then you will select yes. Provide the name of the firm from which you will be be employed, or if self-employed, enter the applicant's name. You are working for yourself at this time. You are not hired. So I am simply entering my name per the instructions. What did we miss here? Oh, question number 7. Fingerprint receipt will be attached to this application. Yes, you always want to submit that with your application. So far we've committed to sending them 2 things: our certificate for our pre-licensing course and the receipt for our fingerprints. Now we get into some background questions. These will apply to you all individually. Answer as appropriate. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? I have not. You may exclude juvenile adjudications. Have you? And then if you select no, it grays out these and you go on to the next one. If you do have these, it's going to ask you to submit additional information. You're going to have to give them copies of the court proceedings and the judgments against you. It doesn't preclude you from having a license, but what it does is it requires that you submit additional information. So now we're moving down to question 1C. Have you ever been convicted of a military offense, had a judgment withheld or deferred, or are you currently charged with some military offense? No, I am not. And question 2, have you ever been named involved in administrative proceeding, blah, blah, blah. You can read through this. If the answer is yes, it tells you what you have to do. I have got a very clean criminal past because I have none, so I simply say no. Has any demand ever been made a judgment? You as a director of an LLC regarding to insured. They're trying to find out if you have any issues within the insurance industry that are some open-ended questions out there. And if you answer yes, you're going to have to be submitting some paperwork. The vast majority will simply say no. Most of us don't have a criminal background. Have you ever been notified by any jurisdictions that you are applying to of any delinquent tax obligation that is not the subject of a repayment agreement? So I'm going to select no. Are you currently party to or haven't been found liable in any lawsuit, arbitration, mediation involving allegations of fraud, misrepresentation, misappropriation or conversion of funds, misrepresentation or breach or fiduciary duty? No, I have not. Have you or any business whom you are with owners, partners, of officers, members, blah, 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 Alleged misconduct is what they're asking. No, I've not been accused of alleged misconduct. Do you have a child support obligation in arrearage? So as long as you've paid your child support, you will be answering no. If you haven't, you have to give them information. Are you currently... Oh, that one's grayed out. That one's grayed out. So we can continue on. Now it says 1A we missed. How did we miss that? Have you ever convicted of a misdemeanor judgment? I thought we answered that one. Maybe you didn't take it. Sometimes you have to make sure those little boxes get clicked. So here we go. Here's the basically stating I agree with all the information that I've submitted. Everything is factual. This is your signing in blood right here, saying what you've submitted is true. And then it's going to go in and it's going to put this information into their system, and here's where you will go ahead and go through the processing fees. And then you will make payment. I understand they're non-refundable. You're going to confirm your email address. I'm simply going to copy and paste because it's no fun to sit here and watch for me. So you need to select this box here. I understand it's non-refundable. You hit submit. And next thing you're going to do is it's going to be asking for payment information. I'm going to stop right here because you can walk through the rest of that. You'll just continue at the prompts, but you've answered all the questions. And after you make your payment, it's going to ask you to upload those 2 documents. Remember the 2 documents we said we'd submit for this. And they'll give you a place to upload that. You need to submit your PDF of your course completion, and then you're also going to need a document image that you can upload of your receipt. So make sure you have those before you go through this process, because after you finish this payment information, it's going to give you a place to upload those, and then your application will be complete. So let me go back. What if we're a non-resident looking for application? Here's the only thing that's different. We're going to go to the same place. So this is, say, if you lived in Tennessee or Nebraska or a state that doesn't have licensing, you've taken a Texas All Lines course so you can get a non-resident license as your designated home state. Same thing. We're going to start off here. We want a new adjuster's license. It is for an individual. Are you licensed as an adjuster in your resident state? No, because it has no licensing. Are you applying for a resident license? We are not a resident, so it's not a resident license. Do you have an existing designated home state? I need a designated home state. So I do not have one, so you're going to say I need one. You're going to continue. We're going to enter in an email address. Hit continue. And here's where it's different. We're going to say, let's start off in Tennessee. Well, let's do Nebraska. It's right here. And you'll enter in the Social Security. You are the applicant in this situation. And here is where it's asking you what state. So you would select Texas because you're applying for Texas designated home state. You're going to have a credit card payment for this, and you will hit continue. And so we come to here. It's going to ask us to select a license type. So we want an adjuster designated home state. It's important you select adjuster designated home state. Oh, I'm sorry. This always confuses me here. Look what it says. It's asking if you're previously licensed. So you are not previously licensed. You're a brand new adjuster. And so we simply hit continue. And you notice these are the same as what we saw before, except it says DHS, Designated Home State. Once again, look at the certificate you're applying for this with. It should state on there whether it's a all lines or property and casualty. Select the one that's appropriate for the course that you took. You will hit continue, and you will notice this is exactly the same as before. So follow the instructions just as like we notated before for those who live in Texas. But if you are doing a designated home state, that's the only thing that's different on the front end. Everything else from here forward is exactly the same. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. And, as always, we're here to answer your questions. Feel free to give us a call. If you go to our homepage, 2021 Training, and you look at the bottom, you have all our contact information here. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all, and we're more than happy to help. But I hope this video kind of explains everything for you to make this easy for you.